On Thursday, February 11th, the CN Plow works the Southampton subdivision north from Stratford to Douglas Point. After turning at Port Elgin, the train continues to Douglas Point, where freight will be picked up for the late evening return to Stratford. The following Sunday, February 14th, we get an unexpected surprise as the big black CN plow has been dispatched from London, Ontario. After plowing the main line from London to Kitchener, they are to plow the Godrich line from Stratford. Powering the plow is a different set of CN F7s, numbers 9164 and 9175. The black plow was built in 1925 by Jordan and is the only Jordan-built wedge plow on the CN roster. Until recently, it was orange like the other CN plows, but now sports an experimental black Teflon-based paint, which theoretically prevents the snow from sticking to the plow. On some occasions, the snow spews upwards in the middle of the plow, resembling a geyser. At St. Columban, we see an example of the geyser. On Monday, February 15th, the CN and CP are both running plow extras to Owen Sound. An unexpected warming of temperatures and rain instead of snow the previous night has made the remaining snow very heavy. Snow-covered back roads are now ice, and finding snow-filled cuts that are accessible is more difficult. One of the CN F7s is out of service and is replaced at Stratford with a rebuilt GP9. After the crew changes ends in Owen Sound, the Plow begins its journey back to Stratford. We quickly head south to find the CP Plow Extra working northward toward Owen Sound. Power for this extra is a rebuilt RS-18 and an unrebuilt RS-18, which are among the oldest power on the CP roster. As the Plow clears a siding in Owen Sound, we get a close look at the flange being raised and lowered for a switch. The following day, Tuesday, February 16th, we are back in Stratford where a replacement F7 number 9177 has arrived and is coupled with 9165 and the snow plow. Departing Stratford, the Plow Extra takes the main line west to St. Mary's Junction and will plow as far as Lucan on the Forest subdivision. During our visit to Canada, we have seen a most interesting array of snow removal trains. In 9 days, we have witnessed 8 Plow Extras. Since our last Plow Extra is working the Forest subdivision, we go back to an incident that occurred on this same line near the small community of Granton in 1971. Murray Atwell is currently roadmaster in charge of track maintenance for CN, but was a plow foreman previously. He gives us a first-hand account of this unusual experience.
My most memorable experience while plowing snow as a foreman go back to March 1971 when we were ordered on the Forest subdivision with 3 GP9 units and Plow 55-397. We had experienced several rains prior to that trip and cold weather. The drifts had ice in the bottom of them, and as we approached mileage 10, we ran into problems with heavy cut. We had made 2 attempts to get through, and on the 3rd attempt we had backed out close to a half a mile, and we were making our 3rd run. And when we came into contact with the heavy snow again, our plow became airborne. Interesting to say, many of the citizens that in the area, farm people, etc., were out there with still cameras, motion picture cameras, etc. So when we hit that drift again, we became airborne. The plow, I understand, went a distance of about 45 feet in the air. Our front trucks remained in contact with the rail, and our rear trucks came to about a 25-foot level, broke loose, and dropped onto the front end of the leading unit. This cleaned most of the front end right off the leading unit, and we then tipped over with the bottom of the plow facing the unit and came back down, and with that then the leading unit had struck us in the bottom, threw the plow over on its side in the ditch. So when everything became quiet, and the first that I knew then, my mate was hollering at me, "Get up, Murray, get up." And I remarked to him, I said, if you would just step off of me, he had ended up right on top of me. I said, if you would just step off of me, maybe I could get up. I was in a very precarious position. My head was down under my right thigh. And for a minute there, he thought possibly that I had been decapitated. But we came out of that quite well. And when you think back on it, and possibly right at the time, that we as a crew hadn't really ever volunteered or signed up for any space exploration, but it sure felt like somebody fired up the rockets and we sure took off. Really, we were very fortunate that we didn't have any serious injuries. On occasions like that, it makes you feel somebody's really looking after you.
Here's a final look at a Plow extra near the 1971 wreck site of Granton, Ontario.